What's good, family? We a little bit tardy, but no worries. We here. The HBCU Fanatics is in the building. Coach 67 Sports TV, what's going on, man?
I am blessed and highly favored this evening. Hey, never fret or fear. The HBCU fanatics are here. The fanatics are in the building. You dig?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. We excited to talk about this HBCU ball, man. It's been a very eventful weekend this past weekend. A lot of fights breaking out. Of course, I will. We gonna chop it up about it, man. Actually, speaking of that, let me. I got a video I want to share. Fair use YouTube. So those who don't know, there was a fight between Fort Valley and what's the other school, coach?
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was what Central.
Yeah, Central
Central
State,
State.
Fort Valley
Yeah,
and
Central
Central
State.
State.
Yeah.
And it was big. It's been big in HBCU news, man. But let's hear. I have like a clip on YouTube regarding uh, the situation, the news clip. So let's hear. And coach, let me know if you can hear it.
Hey there, Central Georgia. Saturday, Fort Valley State hosted their homecoming game against Central State. Wildcats came up short against the Maradors, but after the game, a fight broke out on the home sideline. Several players from both teams were seen pushing, tackling, and even throwing punches. There were many attempts to separate the two teams, but the situation quickly got out of hand. Today, the Southern Intercollegiate Athletic Conference announced 20 players are suspended, 9 from Fort Valley and 11 from Central State. Both head coaches were also included in those suspensions. In his first year, head coach Marlon Watson and his players are going to face a one-game suspension. The SIAC also fined each school, but they did not disclose how much. The news comes less than a week after Fort Valley indefinitely suspended their marching band for hazing.
Oh
Man.
crazy, coach. So what's your thoughts on that on the fight? Over there in that D2 level ball, man. And then do you do do you know anything that could have prevented the fight or how it caused?
Well, first and foremost, let me say this. I can't say this enough. Um, I hate when HBCUs have these like wonderful events. They have a real good event, and then it's marred by a fight. The reason being is because, don't get me wrong, I think anytime any institution or two institutions are involved in a brawl or melee or whatever the case may be, like it's a negative it's a negative thing.
Right.
However, I feel like when it's PWIs involved in these type of incidents, like it might pass through a news cycle and then you forget about it. However, when it's HBCUs, because we know how media works in this country, we know, we know how they project uh this image they portray upon black people. They depict us in a negative light. So when you have these type of incidents, I think they have a tendency to blow it out of proportion. And I use this game as an example. But a few years ago, this year Jackson State came to A.W. Mumford Stadium, P. Richardson Field. But a few years ago, when Dion was the head coach, the only time he came to A.W. and Shador was a freshman at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So they came to A.W. Mumford Stadium, P. Richardson Field. And of course, Jackson State was favorites. Dion had a lot of buzz surrounding him, whatever the case may be. And they played against Southern. That particular team had not beat Southern in I think at the time, Jackson State hadn't beat Southern in 8 years. And basically, Southern had beat them like 8 straight times, whatever. So they played against Southern. And Southern literally led the entire game. But Jackson State fans were real confident that Jackson State was going to win, just like they were this year. And I'm not going to lie, that literally was the best game I saw the entire season. Because even when you look at the Bayou Classic was like a snooze fest. It was boring. But the Jackson State Southern game when they came to AW that year, it was a exciting game. And Jackson State ended up getting their first lead with 1 minute and 30 seconds left in the game. That was the first time they got the lead, and they never let it go. And
Mm-hmm.
Glenda Bubba McDaniel led Southern out, and he drove them down the field, but he threw an interception on like the plus 30 to plus 20 with like maybe 20 seconds left in the game because when they got the ball, they only had like 1 minute and 30 seconds left. So Jackson State ended up winning the game. So that group of players that were seniors for Southern, that was the first time they lost to Jackson State. And that was Jackson State seniors' first time beating Southern their entire career. So they were excited. And instead of just celebrating what they decided they wanted to do, they attempted to plant the JSU flag at midfield, A.W. Mumford Stadium, and Southern seniors were not having it. Before he went to plant the flag, one of the Southern players like tackled him or whatever. I think it was a defensive tackle, offensive lineman. It was a big guy. And man, they got to fight. Then I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness. I'm
Right.
not gonna lie. I think had they just, had the game just ended without the fight, I would have said easily, oh yeah, that was the best game I saw the whole season. It still was the best game I saw the whole season, but the way things ended, it marred the event. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be honest with you. The local news in Baton Rouge, they didn't blow out of proportion the way they did other Southern incidents in the past, like when I was a freshman at Southern and Southern and Prairie View marching bands fought. Like my freshman year at Southern, when Southern went to Prairie View and both bands were suspended. Both bands were suspended a while. And the crazy thing about it, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, I think LSU fought against either University of Tennessee or Florida University, one or two. And basically, it passed through a news cycle, and that was it. But when Southern Band and Prairie View Band fought, like they played that fight for like years. I'm talking about, bro. I'm not talking about like 1 or 2 years. No, I'm talking about like 10 years down the line. And I'm like, bro, why do you have to play this every single year when these two teams played and that fight happened years ago? So I thought they was gonna blow it out of proportion that same way, and they really didn't. And I was shocked. I don't know. It was because they didn't want to have a lot of negative publicity surrounding Deion Sanders, maybe the way he handled it. I'm not gonna lie, he took credit in terms of his players not conducting themselves the way they should have. From a coaching perspective, my point of view was like, look, hey, if you just hold on to the lead for this last 1 minute and 30 seconds, then you win a game, and that's the end of it. But either way, it ended up marring the event. And when I saw this whole, fiasco with Fort Valley State and Central State, well, they're two Division II schools, so it didn't get as much attention and as much coverage. However, I just don't like to see HBCUs depicted in a negative light. So that's why I can't stand these type of brawls, these type of melees. In fact, in all actuality, 2 of the last 3 years, Jackson State and Alabama State played. We're gonna talk about Alabama State, Jackson State at the end of the show in terms of,
Who we think
them
gonna
playing,
win?
yeah, them
Yeah.
playing who, us picking a winner, our breakdown of the game, and essentially, in my personal opinion, is the de facto SWAC championship game. But honestly, 2 of the last 3 years that those two teams played, they fought. So hopefully they don't fight this year. But more than anything, I just don't like when HBCU football teams have these type of brawls because, like I say, when somebody white does something wrong, it's only a negative reflection on that particular individual. However, when somebody black does something wrong, it depicts their entire race in a negative light. And I don't think that's fair. I think it's a ridiculous double standard in this country.
Yeah, it is. But hey, fights happen, man. Especially in football games, man. Uh, what I want to know how it happened, man. I've been trying to do my little research, and I got a lot of the video of the fight, but not really how it happened. Do you know anything, Coach, or anybody who catch the replay or listening now? If you know how it started, put it in the chat. Matter of fact, uh, if you're listening and you haven't hit my like button or subscribe, please do so. Greatly
Like,
appreciate it.
share, subscribe, please.
Yes, please.
we trying to get both you and I trying to get our subscriber count up. You know what I'm saying? So please like, share, subscribe. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, I really don't know. Maybe them losing for homecoming, maybe that played a role or a factor into it. But either way, like I don't like HBC. I mean, don't get me wrong. You right. Uh, football. I mean, don't get me wrong. Hey, when I was in middle school, our team was gonna have a fight. When I played at Assumption High, like there were a handful of instances we were gonna fight. But I think the difference is when HBCUs do it, like they try to, in my personal opinion, they try to blow it out of proportion. But when PWIs do it, hey, it passes through a news cycle, then thereafter it's swept under the rug. So that's my issue with it. I mean, I understand people gonna disagree, teams not gonna like each other. Even in high school, when I played ball, like certain teams, were dirty, were gonna do dirty things, and you knew it was gonna be there was potential to have a fight when you played certain teams or played against certain schools. So I understand that's a component, that's an element when you a football player, when you're a football coach. But with that being said, like I said, I still don't think PWIs get that type of negative light, shined on them the way HBCUs does. And that's my personal opinion. Because like I said, when Southern and Prairie View bands fought each other, even though Prairie View band was like twice Southern size, Southern at that time, they ended up getting sued down the line, but they had no girls in their band. Whereas Prairie View band was like 2/3 girls.
Mhm.
So that gave Southern a competitive advantage. And I'm not going to even lie. We talk about equality and equity in terms of dating and mating and relationships and those type of things. And I find it laughable when, you get girls on these podcasts and they talk about, hey, if you put a military of all women against a military of all men, the women will win. Man, that is cap. Because I'm not going to lie. Prairie View had 2 to 3 times as many band members as Southern. Southern only had but half of them, but it was all boys, and I'm not gonna lie, them boys from Southern beat the brakes off of Prairie View band.
Damn.
But the thing about it though, uh, I think I had this classmate at the time, right? I don't know if it was him that they showed, but they showed this close-up shot of this girl from Prairie View trying to hit this guy from Southern. And man, he took his horn and he caught back and he hit that girl in his face with his horn. And we had this
Oh
guy,
man.
we had this, he was like, hey, we out there scuffing. And like, look, hey, if you don't want no smoke, fall back. But you try to attack me, man, hey, it's up. And I wouldn't even like hit in the face with this dude in our class. And I don't think it was him, but he told a similar story. He was like, man, look, this girl came after him. And he was like, hey, she tried to swing on me and I hit her. And I'm not gonna lie, Southern just beat the brakes off of Prairie View, but I kid you not, the two local news channels. Don't get me wrong, they're good for covering the news, this, that, and the third. But over the years, when it comes to Baton Rouge news, when it comes to the local newspaper, the Advocate, when it comes to the two local news stations, Channel 2 and Channel 9, WBRZ and WAFB, I can't stand the double standard when it comes to the news coverage between Southern and LSU. Don't get me wrong, I know LSU is quote unquote the flagship school of the state. But like I said, when LSU have their incidents, hey, it comes and goes. But when Southern has had scandals like Southern band and Prairie View band fighting, or when Southern had issues with, students paying for degrees or misappropriation of funds and faculty members stealing money, like they blow those incidents out of proportion. But when it comes to like LSU and Southeastern and Northwestern and PWIs, like it passes through a news cycle and you never hear about it again. So that's why I don't like
Yeah, that's what it
when
do, man.
yeah, that's why I don't like when these HBCUs have these incidents because they try to use those type of incidents to constantly just share the negative light on black people in general.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they're nothing but a bunch of animals, and their fights break out in PWI schools. Well, often, but you hit the nail on the head, man.
And,
It's
and not only that, bro, but
it's not
you know,
fair.
let me add this caveat. I've seen like some of these PWIs, you know, two PWI institutions fight, and they fights are way more violent, way more aggressive. But
You remember
you
Oregon
see,
versus Boise State when LeGarrette Blount hit
but
on the
see, the thing about it is, even when it came to that, they made him look like he was the biggest deviant, the biggest thug, the biggest criminal. But I've seen PWIs have violent fights, and don't get me wrong, you know, negativity has a tendency to go viral more so than positive things. Because if you just look at social media, look at the news, the negative attention gets the most attention. But
hmm
even with that being said, I've seen two PWI institutions have way more violent fights than HBCUs, but HBCU since it's blacks, they shed a negative light on it,
Yeah, they do, man. That yeah, media definitely can be dangerous, especially when that type of the people in the media, which we all know, that definitely if they have a spirit of hate or prejudice or racism in their heart, they're gonna spin the story. So we definitely know it. So that's why you're saying you don't like when we fight like this, but hey, it's gonna
Yeah.
happen. It's ball, man.
Yeah,
Emotion.
yeah. But I think, when not just in media, but just in programming in general, you know what I'm saying? That's why I'm not a huge fan of these shows like Love and Hip Hop or uh uh the Zeus Network with baddies and all that. Man, I don't like all that kind of garbage. And
Yeah,
it's
man.
it's used to poison the minds of our youth. And I don't know what it is, but people that love, of course, these reality shows, they cheap to produce and they get like higher viewer counts. But if I gotta depict my people in a negative light, to come up financially, hey, I rather not have the money. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
All
you
money
just
not
as
good money.
worse.
Yeah,
You
all
just
money
worse
not
as
good
a
money.
racist. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying, man. Salute to my brother, Big Reg, host. I'm tongue tied today. I'm sorry, y'all. Big Reg, host the Big Boy Talk. My brother. Salute, fellas, man. Y'all go on and support this brother. Him, Hendo, not Hendo, but him, Jada 6, and Brandon, aka 86 Ghost. They be chopping it up every Friday. Every Friday night they go live, so please support this brother, man. Good, especially if you're a Baltimore Raven fan. They're not gonna cut any corners. It's gonna be very transparent, especially what's been going on with my Baltimore Raven Ball Club. But anything regarding football in general, man, y'all please support my brother Big Reg. But yeah, man. Just yeah, that fight was crazy, man, and Central State end up winning that game 18-14 against Fort
Well,
Valley.
I think that's probably the catalyst for the fight. I mean, you play a team for homecoming, and you lose your homecoming.
Yeah, because Central State been the doorstep for a couple of years, man. So I guess they were thinking
It was
this is
gonna be an
supposed to be an
easy
easy
win.
win. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
But no,
man.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be honest with you. Whether we talking about high school football or college football, I'm a huge proponent of playing, having the bum badge light touch for homecoming, because you don't want to lose homecoming.
No, you don't.
I remember my junior year at Assumption. We lost homecoming. In fact, I'm not even gonna lie. As quiet as this kept, I thought for sure Southern was gonna lose homecoming last year to Alcorn for a minute, because I'm thinking to myself, bro, the issue Roma Banks was having is he felt like, for homecoming, like people were leaving early. I'm not gonna lie, Southern campus is too crowded for homecoming. You got over 100,000 people on the yard. Like literally, I mean, just say from literally probably about 7 o'clock on. If you
hmm
try to get on campus at 7 a.m., it's gonna take you a few hours to get on
Oh, it's
campus.
gonna be a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, so unless you like on campus for like 5, 6 o'clock, 5, 6 a.m., it's gonna take you a long time to get on campus. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, people, you play against a team like a Virginia Lynchburg, some kind of D2 HBCU from the SIAC or CIAA, you know what I'm saying? basically you play against those teams. Once the third quarter hit, like people start leaving early. You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to shake and move and go to festivities. The game out of hand. Southern probably up by about 40 points or whatever. And the thing about it is, last year they played against Alcorn. Trying to alleviate that. They want people to stay to the end. But once Southern got up comfortably at the end of the game, with like a few minutes left, shout out to Scotty off script. I saw people like Scotty and other people. They were leaving early with 4 or 5 minutes left in the game, or a few minutes left in the game, because people trying to get out there because Southern campus is too congested and it's too crowded for homecoming. So at the end of the day, I mean, I know you're trying to get fans to stay to the end and you're trying to garner more interest in the game, but I still think you want to play a light touch for homecoming because you don't have a situation where you get upset or you lose to a team that you shouldn't lose to homecoming. I think you ought to take you a real easy light touch for homecoming.
Yeah, because you definitely want to try to get those wins and trying to shed a good light on your program as far as some W's in the win column. But speaking of that, I'm gonna switch over to the other topic, man. Coach Ed Orgeron had a surprise visit with Grambling State. So we're gonna go over back to Louisiana on your side of the street, Coach. What's going on over there?
Well, I think they tried to get Coach O just to kind of go to Grambling. Well, you got to realize he's from Louisiana. If I'm not mistaken, I think he's from Thibodeau. I think he's from Thibodeau, if I'm not mistaken, because I think he went to like Nicholls State, Northwestern State, one of them, right? And of course, he ended up eventually becoming the head coach at Ole Miss, and you saw him in the blind side, trying to recruit Michael Orr.
Michael Orr, yeah.
And that's where he ended up going. And in addition to that, of course, he was the head coach at LSU. He won the national championship one year. And the next year, because see, I'm not gonna lie, when you at LSU is like Southern. Of course, they twice Southern size, but in terms of Baton Rouge, I say this all the time, the expectation is to win. LSU is a storied program from a historical standpoint. Southern is a HBCU that's across town or whatever. And the expectation is to win. So he won a national championship one year. And Joe Burrow and all of the cast of characters that, helped get them to that point, all those guys went to the NFL. And the next year, they went from winning the national championship to being a 500 team. So when all the losing started, all the issues but lack of institutional control came out. Because see, once they was winning, they didn't care because they were winning.
Right.
But they talked about players doing stuff and LSU PD, EBR PD, not really arresting them or not taking the complaints against players seriously, this, that, and the third. And basically, it was a Urban Meyer type situation where he had a lack of institutional control or whatever, and they ended up firing him. I think had he won a national championship again next year, they would have swept it under the rug. But the fact that you went from winning national championship to going 500 next year, they got him out of there. So, of course, his buyout was tremendous. I'm not gonna lie, he got a bag. We talk about how Eric Dooley, even last year, he still was getting the $300K that Southern owed him. Man, that's peanuts and pennies compared to what Coach O got from LSU with his buyout. So, he showed his face. In fact, salute to my cousin King Ray. He met Coach O on South Beach one year, you know what I'm saying? And
right.
He got pictures with Coach O, because you got to realize Coach O was I think the defensive coordinator at the U when they had Warren Sapp and The Rock and all of them, on that defense or whatever. Mm-hmm. But Coach O, he popped up at Grambling. He made a surprise visit, I guess trying to give a rah-rah speech. And I'm not going to lie, if nothing else, he always, even though he got a real rough, gravelly voice, he's a rah-rah kind of guy, you know what I'm saying? So I guess he tried to fire up the troops in North Louisiana, you know what I'm saying? He a Louisiana guy. So, shout out to him. He probably could have did the exact same thing as Southern. He probably would have got the exact same type of fanfare, especially considering that he was the head coach right across town. But, somebody, since he popped up at Grambling, somebody asked me, man, Coach, you think he would take a HBCU job? Hell no. Because the money he gets from LSU as we speak, probably, even if they just paid him out, he got such a huge buyout. They really couldn't. They really didn't pay him all at once. Even if they did pay him all out at once, he's still living off of that cheese to this day. So, man,
So I'm
so
just
he
being
wasn't taking no
hypothetical,
HBCU
coach.
jobs. Uh-huh.
I'm just being hypothetical. It's just a hypothetical question. What if he just wants to get the job for something to do?
Well,
He
I'm not.
wants to.
I'm not gonna lie. If he would be interested in going that route, of course, I'm gonna be honest with you. It would be the equivalent to having a celebrity coach. But I'm not gonna lie. I think he'll be a much more. How am I say this? In terms of celebrity coach, you already know how I feel about, you know, white coaches getting head coaching job at HBCUs or white
Yeah,
quarterbacks being starting quarterbacks at HBCUs. I'm anti that because you only got so many of them spots so many of them spots in the NFL and only so many of them spots in the college ranks in general. Let alone you come over to our side of town and doing stuff. But even with that being said, I think it'll be a much better hire than hiring somebody like a Hugh Jackson or even hiring somebody like a Bill Belichick or whatever. I think he would do damage. The reason being because, he's been an interim head coach at USC. He's been a head coach at Ole Miss. He won the national championship at LSU. I think he would bring a certain degree of cachet. And then in addition to that, of course, like I said, he was a defensive coordinator at the U when they had, The Rock and Warren Sapp and those type of guys. So he's a rah-rah guy. Not only that, he's synonymous for being a good recruiter. I think those two things there would be a good combination at an HBCU. You know what I'm saying? But I think the downfall to it that really wouldn't allow that to happen is the fact that I don't. It'll be such a step down in pay. You can't go from making like literally millions and millions of dollars to making like 300K. The only reason why I think Kevin Sumlin considered taking the job at Southern was so it could be a stepping stone back to a PWI Power 5.
yeah,
But if you notice, had black coaches. Just say, for example, Tyrone Willingham. Even though he probably never had interest in coaching at the HBCU, Tyrone Willingham is black. Why he never got a job at the HBCU being a head coach? I'm sure somebody would have wanted him. Even if you look at what the old boy name is, who UCLA just fired, what his name, Deshaun Foster, right?
yeah. Deshaun Foster.
Deshaun Foster. Hey, I'm sure he not gonna take an HBCU job because guess what? UCLA had to buy him out. They still he gonna still be getting. He could sit at home and collect a check and make millions. I mean, don't get me wrong. You could add another 300K on top of the millions you making. I think if he really was interested in getting back to a PWI Power 5 job, I think it'd be a good move for either Coach O or somebody like Deshaun Foster. But I think when you done made that kind of money, you don't want to step back and go down and I mean, I think the reason why Kevin Sumlin was willing to do it was to get his name back out there. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, you know, it. I don't know about you, but a lot of people don't really believe in backwards hustling. You know what I'm saying? Once you've
Yeah.
made it to a certain level, I mean, like for example, I'm gonna just kind of use my own personal life. I'm an administrator now. I'm no
Hmm.
longer a physical education teacher. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm not saying I wouldn't ever do it. I mean, if push came to shove and I had to go back in the gym and put my whistle back on and go back to being a PE teacher and a head football and head basketball coach, I would do it. But I think once you don't move up to a certain point, you don't want to move backwards. You don't want backwards hustle. You don't want to go backwards. You want to move forward. You don't want to go backwards. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I don't think those guys would even consider taking jobs at HBCUs. I mean, like I said, the thing with Coach O, he got Louisiana roots, so that would be a thing for him. But in terms of Deshaun Foster, I mean, when you done made the kind of cheese he done made at UCLA, man, you're not looking to go backwards and come to Southern or HBCU in general. And I mean, truthfully speaking, they could make a lot more money being assistant coach at a PWI. So at the end of the day, I don't think either one of those guys would be, they would. I don't think either one of them would consider taking a job at an HBCU. But I think it's good food for thought. But at the end of the day, I don't see it happening.
I ain't gonna lie, I don't see it happening either. But it was definitely a surprise seeing Coach Orgeron there. Uh, Well, we definitely gonna see.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna keep it a brick. I hate to say it. I think it's likely that Mickey Joseph is probably gonna get fired at Grambling,
Well, yeah,
and not only that, but you're gonna have a handful of other coaches in the SWAC get canned at the end of the season too. Terrence Graves, being the head coach of Southern, is probably one of them.
yeah, he
Uh,
definitely one of them.
James Cozy at FAMU.
Yeah,
So a lot of these coaches might get whacked. So I mean, you never know. This could be a conversation that could come up again. You know, maybe in November, December.
yeah, definitely, man. Salute to my brother Joseph Townsend. Salute to the family. Hey, speaking of Joseph Townsend, we got an awesome interview that's airing tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. Man, y'all tune in, man. Yes, it's a lengthy interview, but that's why I have it at night where you can relax when you get off work. You can sit down with your son who playing ball, or um, any of your family members that be your nephews or little brothers, whoever, or you got a son that's trying to play high school ball, college ball. Man, this is a definitely good interview to just stick them in front of it, um, and let them listen to it.
Yeah,
Uh,
man. Salute to Big Joe. Salute to everybody in the chat, and salute to the entire LDBC family. You dig?
yes, sir. So yeah, man, this is gonna be definitely awesome. He got an amazing testimony, and it's gonna help a lot of people. Definitely will, especially the young bucks who trying to play ball and trying to navigate high school and college streets when it comes to playing ball. But also my brother 86 Cook Ghost, he says, "Yo, man, we just talking about you, man." One of the co-hosts of Big Reg and Big Boy Talk, man, and he got a channel himself, man. Please, y'all support him as well. J Bar,
Man,
Colts fan
salute
in
to
the building.
Brandon, man.
Yeah, salute to Brandon. J Bar, Colts fan in the building. Salute the family in chat, man. Salute to all y'all coming by, man. And those who catching the replay, I really appreciate you as well. Just make sure you hit my like button and subscribe if you haven't done so.
Yes,
All right.
sir.
So, moving on, man. We're gonna go ahead and go into the scores of week 6. So we're gonna go ahead and knock out the CIAA first, man. We're gonna knock out the small schools first. So last week or last weekend, we had Shaw uh lose to Bluefield State 33-35. What are they doing, man?
That's crazy, that.
Yeah. Fayetteville State beat Bowie State 38-10. And shout out to Unique Kelly, one of the wide receivers there that can use that played at my old high school. He got his first touchdown of the year as a freshman. So congratulations to that young man. Livingstone loses to Elizabeth City State 27-39. Virginia Union uh, beat Winston-Salem State. You were right, Coach. I picked Winston-Salem State, but Virginia Union came on top 44-34. It definitely was a good game. And Johnson C. Smith beat Virginia State 31-20.
All right.
And I might as well. We're gonna go ahead and kill two birds with one stone, Coach. Let's do the um, upcoming schedule. So for week 7, Winston State, Salem State versus Shaw. Who you got?
Uh, I'm gonna go Winston-Salem State.
Yeah, the Rams got it, man. Shaw they were doing good a couple of years ago. They were getting traction. They were no longer the doormat of the CIAA, but they've been dropping a lot of games lately, unfortunately. So yeah, I got the Rams. Virginia Union versus Elizabeth City State.
I'm gonna go Virginia Union.
I second that. Virginia State versus Bowie State.
I'm gonna go with Virginia State.
I second that as well. Lincoln versus Bluefield State.
Ooh, I'm gonna go with Lincoln on this one.
I'm gonna go with Bluefield.
All right,
I got Bluefield. Livingstone versus Fayetteville State.
Fayetteville State.
And you already know who I'm going with. Fayetteville State got the Broncos. And let's go ahead and go do the standings of the CIAA at this moment. So we got Fayetteville State. They 3-0 in the conference, coach, and they 3-3 overall record. Virginia Union is 2-0 in the conference, but they're 4-1. Johnson C. Smith is 2-1, but they're 5-1 overall. Livingstone is 2-1 in the conference, but they're 3-2 overall. Bluefield State is 1-1 in the conference, but they're 2-3 overall. Winston-Salem State is 1-2 in the conference, but they are 3-3 overall. Shaw is 1-2, and overall they're 1-4. Rough go of it. Virginia State is 0-2 in the conference, but they are 2-3 overall. Bowie is 0-2, and they're 1-4 overall. And Lincoln is 0-2 in the conference, and they are 0-5.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, so that's why, I'm taking Bluefield against them. They're not that good. But let's go ahead and go over to the SWAC, coach.
All right.
So the game we were just talking about in the beginning of the show, where the brawl happened, Central State. I don't know if they won the fight, but they won the game. They beat Fort Valley State 18-14. Savannah State gets blown out by a South Carolina State Bulldog team that's very competitive in the MEAC, 49-6. Benedict beats Allen by 10, 38-28. Kentucky State beats Miles 38-17. We were both right on that. Albany State, blows out Lane 47-6. And Tuskegee drops a game to Morehouse 20-27. I don't know what's going on over there. Tuskegee. Tuskegee used to be very strong in this conference.
Yeah.
But let's go over to the games coming up this week. So Morehouse versus Central State, coach. Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Central State.
Me as well. Hopefully a brawl don't happen. Break out.
Hope not. Hope not.
Clark Atlanta versus Albany State.
I'm gonna go with Clark Atlanta.
I got Clark Atlanta too. Fort Valley State versus Benedict. This is not the same Fort Valley of last year.
I'm still going with Benedict.
I'm going Benedict as well. Edward Waters versus the Kentucky State. This might be a sneaky one for Edward. This may be a trap game.
It's gonna be a tough one. I'm gonna go with Kentucky State because we got one of our homies on the team. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna go with Kentucky State today.
I'm gonna go with Edward Waters. I think they still edge it out.
Man, Noah Biden and Noah Biden and Eric Dooley gonna let you down at some point. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, Cole still got an axe to grind with them two, but I still think they can edge it out against the Thoroughbreds. Miles versus Lane. I got Miles. Lane is having a rough go of it this year.
I got Miles too.
Like they always do. But Savannah State versus Allen.
Ooh. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not even gonna go with what they currently are. I'm gonna go with based on what I saw from Savannah State last year. When ZT said that they come in the game and save Southern. I'm gonna go with Savannah State.
I'm gonna go with Allen. I think Allen pulls it out.
Yeah.
But let's go ahead and go to the standings for the SWAC. So we have Benedict. They are undefeated. They're 4-0 in the conference, and they're 5-0 overall. Edward Waters is right behind them. Well, there's a 2-way tie with Edward Waters and Albert East State. They're both 3-0 and 4-1 in the conference. Beneath them is the Kentucky State. They're 4-1 in the conference and 4-2 overall. Allen is 2-2 in the conference and 2-4 overall. Central State is 2-3 in the conference and 2-4 overall. Savannah State and Clark Atlanta are 1-2 in the conference and 2-3 overall. Fort Valley State and Morehouse are 1-2 in the conference, and they are 1-4 overall. Tuskegee is 1-3 in the conference and 2-4 overall. And both Lane and Miles haven't won in a game in the conference and overall. So those are the bottom feeders this year of the SWAC, unfortunately. Yeah, they having a rough go of it, Coach. But let's move on over to the MEAC, Coach. So week 6, we had Georgetown barely beat Morgan State 27-24.
Yeah, that's why I picked Georgetown.
Yeah, Morgan State let me down, but they made it, at least they made it competitive. Monmouth, which I knew was gonna have Monmouth always have a scrappy squad and their run game always on point. They beat Delaware State 49-38, but Delaware State was game. But unfortunately, almost doesn't count, right? So Coach Jackson drops another one. We already told you South Carolina State blew out Savannah State, and then Hampton unfortunately beats Norfolk State 41-34, and Michael Vick drops another one as well.
Yeah.
Coach Vick drops another one as well. So let's go to week 7. So we got more games this week, Coach. So we got Virginia Lynchburg versus Morgan State. Who you got?
Say that again. Say that again, bro.
Virginia Lynchburg versus Morgan State.
Ooh, dang. I'm gonna go with Virginia Lynchburg.
I got Morgan State.
Yeah, I like when we pick different teams.
I definitely got Morgan State. Delaware State versus Southern Connecticut State.
Say that again.
Delaware State versus Southern Connecticut State.
I'm gonna go with Delaware State.
Absolutely, me as well. Sacred Heart versus Howard.
I'm gonna go with Howard.
I'm a trust Howard as well. That Sacred Heart team did not impress me. Where a HBCU team can't beat them. Heck, Delaware State almost beat them, but they dropped the ball. South Carolina State versus North Carolina A&T.
You say A&T against who?
South Carolina State.
Oh, this is a big game. I'm gonna go with. Oh,
you know I'm going with. I've got the Bulldogs.
In fact, I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna go the opposite way. I'm gonna go with Central.
Okay, like you said, it makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
And then we got Norfolk State versus Wofford.
I'm going Norfolk State.
I really want to go with Norfolk State, but after seeing that defense and their secondary is, my lord. I'm unfortunately have to go with Wofford.
All right.
Yeah, their defense gonna let them down.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got a SWAC versus MEAC game, Coach. Florida A&M versus North Carolina Central.
Well, you got to realize, FAMU used to be in the MEAC.
And of course.
FAMU is terrible, so Central gonna beat the brakes off them.
And I second
Oh,
that.
and I'm sorry. And I want to say, I thought you meant you did say A&T. I thought you meant Central. I'm gonna go with South Carolina State. I respect
yeah, wrong North Carolina school. Yeah. This ain't the same. Ain't this A&T over there suffering?
Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna go with State. I'm gonna go with South Carolina State in that game, and I'm gonna go with North Carolina Central in this game.
All right. And then, of course, I second that. I got North Carolina Central blowing out Florida A&M as well.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie. I hate to say it, but Chance Cozy probably gonna get fired. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, he gonna get fired. He definitely gonna get fired.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So we got. So North Carolina Central is 4-2. Howard is 3-2. Delaware State is 3-3. So matter of fact, they're in a tie with Delaware State and South Carolina State are tied, both being 3-3. Morgan State is 2-4, and Norfolk State is 1-5. So North Carolina Central is leading the pack in the MEAC.
All right. Yeah, they was in first place last week.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then now we're gonna move over to the SWAC.
Already.
So Bama State blew out Bethune-Cookman 52-35.
I told you what it was gonna be.
Yeah. Prairie View A&M eked out a close one against Alcorn, but they end up being victorious 13-12.
Cedric Thomas probably gonna get fired.
Yeah, another one. Jackson State blew out A&M 57-24.
I ain't gonna lie, I didn't think they was gonna beat them that bad.
That bad. Me neither. Texas Southern blew out Arkansas Pine Bluff 51-7.
Yeah, I guess Pine Bluff are the bottom feeders that they predicted them to be at the beginning of the season.
I was wrong, man. I thought it was gonna be close again.
I felt like they were moving in the right direction, but hey, dang.
Yeah, I thought it was gonna be a little bit closer than that. But moving on to week 7. So we got more games this week, and then we're gonna talk about the game. In my opinion, the game of the SWAC. This is the
de facto SWAC championship.
Right.
De facto SWAC championship.
Yes, sir. We already talked about North Carolina Central, Florida A&M. We both picked North Carolina Central. And then Lincoln out of California is playing Alcorn. Alcorn should win that.
To get their first win of the season, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately. And then we got Mississippi Valley versus Alabama A&M. Who you got, Coach?
I got A&M. Cornelius Brown IV. He should play better in this game.
I agree. I want to pick Valley, but Cornelius Brown should tear that secondary up.
Yeah.
Southern versus Bethune-Cookman.
Honestly, I know some people are gonna be like, "Man, Coach, not you." I'm picking Bethune-Cookman to win this game.
Word? Okay.
Yeah, big facts.
Y'all can never say he always a homer. That's real for your ass right there. I'm gonna go. I think Southern can beat Bethune-Cookman.
I know people saying their run defense is terrible, but you got to realize, even at this point in the season, Trey Holly's still on a snap count restriction because he hadn't played since his freshman year at LSU. He must have decided one day I'm gonna walk on at Southern and just showed up. To this point in the season, he's still not in shape. He hasn't got more than 11 carries in the game the whole season. So I know their run defense is terrible. Mike Franklin is gonna have to be the one to power him in a running game if they're gonna have success running the ball.
Yeah. But I think y'all can edge it out. So I got
We'll
Southern.
see.
And then we got Texas Southern versus Grambling.
I'm gonna go Texas Southern. Anytime you got to cheat Kentucky State to win, I don't have no faith in Grambling. So I'm
I
going
second that.
TSU.
And
Yeah,
y'all better beat them in the Bayou Classic. I'm picking y'all to blow them out.
I ain't gonna say blowout. This Southern team ain't that good either.
And it don't matter. Like me and Adrian Crook been talking about. And I see you in the chat, Adrian Crook. But they ain't got no hogs in the trenches. They light as hell.
Yeah, but guess what? I mean, essentially, Southern defensive line is Kelby Givens and 3 substitute defensive linemen, in my personal opinion. So I'm not sold on Southern's defensive line. The Southern right guard, he be holding like crazy. You know what I'm saying? He get multiple penalties. So Southern ain't lighting the world on fire. It ain't like they got, Kendrick Baptiste and Nivens and Black and Stafford and cats like that from the past. So this Southern offensive and defensive line ain't lighting the world on fire. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you, but y'all still can beat these cats. This ball
Yeah.
club.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I could be wrong, but we're gonna be here to talk about it, whatever happens.
Yep.
And then we're gonna go to the standings of the SWAC, and then hold your horses, folks. We will talk about that Jackson State versus Alabama State game. So let me go ahead and get the standings for the SWAC. Okay. All right. So in the East, we got Alabama State 4-1. Well, they're tied. Alabama State and Jackson State are tied 4-1. In the East, Bethune-Cookman is 2-4. They're 1-1 in the conference, so that's why they're third. Fourth is Alabama A&M. They're 0-2 in the conference. They're 3-3 overall. Florida A&M is 0-1 in the conference, but they're 1-3. Valley, of course, haven't won a game, so they're last in the East. In the West, we have, which we all predicted. I did anyway. Prairie View A&M is 3-0 in the West, and in the conference, and 4-2 overall. Texas Southern is second. They're 2-1 in the conference, but they're 2-3 overall. Pine Bluff, even though they've been losing bad, they are 1-1 in the conference, and they're 2-3 overall. Grambling is 0-1 in the conference and 3-2 overall. Southern is 0-1 in the conference and 1-4. That may change when they going deep in the conference play. And Alcorn haven't won a game.
Yeah. They should get their first win this weekend.
Yeah, they definitely playing with a Division II school. So yeah, they definitely should get a win. Okay, now let's talk about it.
Topic of the show, man.
Topic of the show. So again, in my opinion, this is the SWAC championship. I know both teams are on the east side.
Let's rephrase that. The de facto SWAC championship.
De facto SWAC championship. Yeah, like Coach said. So we got Alabama State versus Jackson State.
All right, well, let me give you my in-depth analysis on this particular game. First and foremost, let me be clear by saying this. We talked about the brawl between Fort Valley State and Central State at the start of the show. Alabama State and Jackson State has fought at the end of the game 2 of the last 3 years they played. So first of all, please don't fight at the end of this game. Please don't do it. Like I said, they try to depict black people in a negative light. And when HBCU teams brawl and fight after the game, I feel like they try to blow it up more than they did. Honestly, I was surprised in both of those instances they really didn't blow it out of proportion. So that's one good thing. So let's get that out the way. Hopefully they don't fight. All right, first and foremost. Second of all, I'm going to be truthful. Jackson State has a good defense. I think from a roster standpoint, I think top to bottom, I think they are a better team than Alabama State. Jackson State has a very good defense. They have really a very good running game. From a special team standpoint, Travis Terrell Jr. is a elite level dynamic punt and kick returner. I think in all phases of the game, I think Jackson State overall is a better team. However, the one caveat I'm gonna give is I really believe in Andrew Body. I think Andrew Body is the best quarterback in the SWAC. I think I would feel confident in picking Alabama State if Alabama State defense was as good as they were the past few years, but their defense is not as good. But one thing I like about Alabama State as a team, they are fundamentally sound. You're going to have people like Christopher Dukes that say that Andrew Body really ain't done nothing in the SWAC. That's true, but he done been hurt the last few years, whatever the case may be. He a experienced veteran player. I think if he want to be put in a pantheon with great SWAC quarterbacks, guys like Quincy Richard, like Bruce Eugene, like Devontae Kincaid, like Bryant Lee, like Eric Randall, like Steve Aaron McNair, Tavares Jackson, and Doug Williams. If he kind of want to be like a legendary SWAC quarterback, if only for 1 year, he has to beat Jackson State. I'm picking Alabama State because of Andrew Body. I think they're a fundamentally sound team. I think neither team gonna score as many points against each other as they've been scoring against these other SWAC teams. I pick Alabama State to win 27-28.
I'm gonna go in the other direction. I got Jackson State winning this one, because of their running game and their defense being solid.
Oh no, I ain't
Uh,
gonna lie. They got a good defense. They got a very, very good defense. Now
very solid.
they're not like 93 Southern Dogs. They defense good, but they're kind of a few steps below that. They're a very good defense. So I'm not saying it's gonna be easy for Andrew Body, but he gonna have to will Alabama State to a win, and he gonna have to push him over the top. But I think the issue he may face is the fact that from top to bottom, Jackson State they have a lot of depth at every position, and
Especially
I
the
think
running back room.
oh yeah,
Mike Lowell.
without question. And I'm not gonna lie, I think they have overall from a roster construction standpoint. I always talk about how trash Southern is. Like some of these starters really and truly are really substitutes, and their backups are not even serviceable players. They're not even playable. You know what I'm saying? And I think Jackson State is on the opposite end of the spectrum. They deep. They pretty much deep at every position or whatever. And I think they got a pretty good team. But at the end of the day, I got faith in Andrew Body. I think he's gonna get the job done. I think Alabama State gonna edge out a close win. In fact,
Uh,
do you think
I
this is
do
gonna be a
not
competitive?
doubt.
You think it's gonna be a competitive game, or you think Jackson State gonna blow them out?
It could be a blowout, but Andrew Body is like you said, he's the X factor where he can keep Alabama State in the game. So it depends. The reason, let me go into detail why I'm picking Jackson State. A lot of people, a lot of people do not have faith in Jacoby and Morgan. Um, I understand that. I'm not really highly impressed with Jacoby and Morgan as well, but they really don't have to lean on Jacoby and Morgan because this running back room, with Travis Terrell Jr., Desmond Moultrie, Denario Davenport, transfer from Louisiana Tech, that's been balling. Hamid Miller, of course, their premier back, and they got this short 500 built type running back, named Amari Matthews, that can grind it out. So you got all those running backs talent coming at you. And all of them have shown they can tote that rock very well. So now, with me saying that, defense definitely has to continue to play ball like they've been doing, but the offense, you just lean on the running game, like I've been saying on this show. Jackson State can just lean on their running game. Jacoby and Morgan make smart throws, and they can beat anybody. including folks in the MEAC, in my opinion.
Yeah. I think you make some excellent points, and I agree with you. But like I said, I just think Andrew Body. I mean, if he gonna ever live up to the hype that he had coming into the SWAC, if he don't do it in this game, it's never to be done. Truthfully speaking.
Yeah, man, and their wide receiving core is slept on as well. It's very, in my opinion, very talented with Nate Rembert, former star wide receiver from Mississippi Valley State. He was the 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 light on that offense.
And not only that, former Prairie View wide receiver
Shamar
Shamar
Savage,
Savage.
yeah, and then you got those who are 80 babies and watched ball in the 80s. You have Janalen Dupree, Marcus Dupree grandson. You know, uh, Marcus Dupree was a Oklahoma legend, Mississippi high school football legend, and he got his grandson balling as well. So yeah, their wide receiving core is straight as well. But what I'm impressed with is that running game, man. That they got backs that can. God forbid if Muhammad Miller go down, God forbid, they still gonna be straight. That's how good their running back room as well. It's good.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that.
yeah, and yeah, man, it's definitely on my. The game comes on at 3:30 on ESPN.
Well, I'm not gonna be looking at that game. I'm gonna be looking at the other game.
Understood.
Of course, the Jags gonna be in Daytona, so that's where my focus is gonna be.
I definitely understand. You gotta watch your Jags.
I mean, I don't get me wrong. Now, when they go off, I'm gonna tune on in, or I might have a couple devices going on. I'm gonna work something out. We gonna see.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But man, the year football season is winding down, so y'all enjoy this ball, man. Because when it's gone, y'all gonna be bitching and complaining about, oh, I want to see football again, y'all. And win or lose, enjoy this games. Like if your team losing, like my Ravens are ass right now, man. I've been
Hell,
enjoying.
your Tar Heels trash at this point too.
Your Tar Heels
Unfortunately,
too, Trish. See,
man,
so
I thought Belichick would have done a
hell,
little something, but hell, he ain't doing jack nothing.
no,
It's so it's so
he
bad
banning
that
parents from because Mark Brown, um, Mac Brown, excuse me, uh, had an open door policy where parents can come in and talk about their kid, but you know, multiple time Super Bowl winner, All Star coach Belichick, he don't want the parents around him, and then uh, finding people for selling tickets to family members or giving tickets away to their family members, and then
I'm not gonna lie. Like Big Joe said, man, that's some bull job. You know what I'm
it
saying?
is because ain't nobody coming to the game. So I mean, that's stupid. So yeah, the Belichick experiment failed horribly. So yeah, he needs to go on. Uh, yeah, I don't think he gonna come. He definitely not, in my opinion, not gonna come back next year. In my opinion, but forget that PWI stuff. We talking about HBCU ball.
Oh yeah, big facts, big facts. But no. I just pointing out how
No, I understand. You good.
your team's not doing well, just like my team's not doing well. At least the Saints got their first win on Sunday. But even with that being said, like, hey, we gotta enjoy this ball while we got it at our disposal. And that go to show you, hey, the celebrity head coach ain't always the right choice anyway.
Yes, sir. Joe Towns, that fan leaving the second quarter, but they want to crack down on tickets. Yeah, don't make sense, man. Yeah. Belichick's gone, man. Take him and his young 20-year-old girlfriend. He get the hell on somewhere. But anyway, man. Uh, yeah, this was a good show, Coach. Man. Let everybody know where they can meet you and see you.
For all those individuals that's trying to collaborate, because I got a couple collaborations that I want to link up with. You can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV at gmail.com in terms of individuals trying to collaborate. Now, don't email me on no bull job, you know what I'm saying? But you can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I'm primarily here on my brother channel, Jared Lovin Green, and I'm primarily here on YouTube at Coach 67 Sports TV. Be certain to come through tomorrow night, check out his interview with our LDBC brother, Big Joe Town, you dig? And salute to the awesome and amazing LDBC. Y'all have a blessed, phenomenal evening, and peace and blessings to the family, you dig?
Yes, sir. Y'all heard him at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time tomorrow. I have an awesome interview with my brother, Big Joseph Townsend. Definitely will bless a lot of people, especially when they got sons or family members that trying to play ball, go to college. He gonna school you on a lot of stuff as far as the maze that is the high school and college football world. So y'all definitely check us out.
And one more thing, bro. Shout out to the Louisiana All American Sports Network tomorrow. We're gonna be broadcasting live from A.W. Mumford Stadium, P. Richardson Field, as the Southern University Laboratory Kittens host the Madison Prep Chargers. So for all my local Baton Rouge people, y'all will catch us. If y'all not gonna be at games, y'all catch us on, local radio channel, and listen to the broadcast of the Louisiana All American Sports Network, or online at Louisiana All American Sports Network.com.
Y'all go check them out, especially the locals, man. But this was an awesome show. Another installment of the HBCU Fanatics, man. Shout out to the mighty LDBC. Y'all be blessed.
Peace and blessings.